In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 81 of the Ecochateas Tea Club and Wuyi Tie Guan Yin Oolong tea from Taiwan. Batch 81 of the Ecochateas Tea Club is an Wuyi Tie Guan Yin Oolong tea, made by the same guy who makes our Tie Guan Yin Oolong, which is now part of our limited edition series, mainly because, or specifically because, he makes so little of it, and it's available only in very small quantities in general for his Tie Guan Yin Oolong. And this is the very first time we've been able to procure his Tie Guan Yin Oolong made from Wuyi, the Wuyi cultivar that he has grown for about 20 years now. A very small plot of tea, totally naturally farmed and hand-picked. From this crop, his spring crop, which is usually the largest crop of the year, he got about, well, less than 20 kilograms of finished product. All kinds of work went into that, literally days and days of processing and then roasting over weeks, if not months of time. So we're pretty excited to be able to procure this batch of tea. The Wuyi strain is rare in Taiwan. It's around, but very scattered, and really probably 1%, I would say, or even less, of the overall amount of tea trees that are growing on Taiwan. So we've had it in various forms. I think the first time we shared a batch of Wuyi Oolong was from Songbo-ling, which is nearby my home here in Bamboo Mountain, Nantou County, Taiwan. Songbo-ling is a historical tea growing region. They used to have a lot of Wuyi decades ago, but that's been taken out and replaced by much more prolific strains of tea. Different story, but our friend decided he wanted to maintain his local tradition and planted a plot of Wuyi that's several years old now. The first crop he made as a high mountain tea, meaning that it was lightly oxidized and unroasted. Very full flavored, really striking aromatic profile, particularly from the Wuyi. We've had that a couple of times in the unroasted form. We've also had from another farmer in that area who is also very committed to natural farming, a batch of black tea. And I can remember specifically upon first tasting that tea that I said immediately, this is the best black tea I've ever tasted. And I still kind of feel that way, although it's been years since I actually tasted it. We've had medium roast, heavy roast from Songbo-ling. This is the first batch made in the fashion of Tie Guan Yin. Tie Guan Yin has a unique processing method. Specifically, the leaves are wrapped in cloth. After they've been tumble heated, the oxidation process is complete. They are probably 2/3 dried. They're wrapped in these cloth balls and then placed on a warmer and just kept warm, maybe 70 degrees Celsius, for several hours. And they, in effect, kind of not really steam, but just kind of are basting in their own juices, you might say. I'm not sure what the term is because it's not a lot of temperature. They're not really hot. They're kept quite warm, and it's almost like a post-oxidation or even close to a fermentation process. And the effect is a certain tangy note in the flavor profile. And then they're rolled and dried, and in this case these leaves were rolled and dried in a traditional oolong fashion, not meaning that they were not tightly rolled. This looks like an oolong that you would have found 30 years ago here. Very semi-spherical, or even very asymmetrical in the shape. And this type of rolling is hard to find these days. Now they use the compacting machine, and the leaves are very tight and very uniform. Speaking traditionally, this is ideal because if you're going to, especially if you're going to age the tea at all, or even just if you're only going to roast it, it allows the surface, well, there's more surface area exposed, and that brings a more uniform either roasting effect or oxidation effect. So, super small pot of tea. He's one of our favorite tea makers, very independent, very committed to natural farming, does all the work himself after the initial processing at least. But he does the work, he's doing the work with one or two helpers. And that's just the epitome of traditional oolong tea making in our perception. Very small operation, family run, and a lot of hands-on by the master. And so it is his own creation, more than these large-scale modern facilities where there is a master present, but he's basically supervising for the most part. I would say heavy oxidation and heavy roast, but he said that he roasted the Wuyi leaves at lower temperature than the regular Tie Guan Yin made from the Tie Guan Yin strain mixed with Jinxuan or Tai Cha number 12 that we normally carry. So basically the same processing, a little lighter on the roast. I did about a 1:15 ratio here, which is kind of pushing it for a heavy roast tea like this, especially since these leaves, Wuyi does have a lot of punch. It has a lot to offer in terms of its flavor profile, but I wanted to go for it and see how it does. So I'm very anxious to try this. 1:15, about 12 grams of tea in this 175, 180 milliliter teapot. Started at 1 minute for the first brew, 1 minute again for the second brew, 1 minute 10 seconds, 1 minute 30 seconds, and then I think about 2 minutes for the final brew. All right, brew one. The tea has cooled down to room temperature. The first thing I thought of was a batch of Fosho that we also sourced from this master in recent years. Fosho is a totally different strain. It's a large leaf strain, but is traditionally made as an oolong. And I say Fosho because there's a distinct mineral note in the flavor profile of this tea as well. Mineral, but I would say the most pronounced note is a nutty, woody flavor, sweet, a little bit of tang, very pronounced. Wow, it's really a distinct flavor. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think cashews. Actually, if I were to choose a nut to fit this flavor that I'm getting. Yep. What else? Some winter squash, maybe butternut squash. The roast is not very evident on the palate. I can smell it in the aroma of the leaves, for sure, and especially when the leaves were hot. I was like, wow, that's pretty. He said it was a lighter roast. It seems pretty heavy, but now that they're cooled down, a lot of sweetness is coming off the leaves. After they've been brewed, of course, and a lot of sweetness and complexity, yes, but a distinct one big flavor note in the middle of it. Yeah, fruity, a little bit of fruity, mineral, and nutty with a tangy, sweet finish. I'd say I kind of hit it just right. I wouldn't go any stronger. You could definitely brew it lighter, and that will probably give you a little more complexity. It's just getting a little bit of stringent on the third brew. Let's try the fourth. That seems fine. I think it kind of peaked on the third brew here. They're pretty much the same, actually. Yeah, dry mineral notes in the finish. Fifth brew, 2 minutes. It's thinning out a little bit, but it still holds its own. It's very pleasant still. Yeah, I think 5 brews for sure. 6 if you want to just keep drinking it because it's interesting, but it'll start kind of dissipating in its overall flavor profile. Mixture of brews 1 to 4. Still quite warm in the big cup. Yum. The nutty note. It's sweeter now too. I just thought cherries. So stone fruit, nutty, woody, mineral note, and a little bit of tang. Yeah, somehow I'm getting like a black cherry note from the mixed brew here. So there we have it. A unique batch of tea. We've never heard of other people making Tie Guan Yin from Wuyi. It probably exists, but it is rare. We can confidently say that. Our friend who we've been sourcing Tie Guan Yin from since the beginning, like 7 years at least, has never offered it to us. I kind of forgot that he even had a plot of Wuyi. Evidently he had one friend, customer, who would buy all of it every season, and for whatever reason he had some available this year. So a very traditionally made tea. If you're into Tie Guan Yin, this is an opportunity to have a slightly unusual spin on it. It definitely varies in its profile. It's a distinctive flavor profile. I would say has more character than the traditional or the conventional Tie Guan Yin. Batch 81, Ecochateas Tea Club, Wuyi Tie Guan Yin Oolong Tea. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.